Good evening, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 4 p.m. on StudyIQ IS English channel. Today is 8th of May, and we are going to discuss important articles from our Indian Express newspaper. Now, if I looked at the Indian Express newspaper, now almost major coverage was about Operation Sindoor only. But you understand, Operation Sindoor isn't the only thing that will be asked in the exam. Other subjects and other important topics also will be. So, I've divided our today's discussion equally. 3 articles I'll be dealing which relates to India's Operation Sindoor and other things relating to it, and rest 3 articles are something which is from the other different subjects, okay? And I'll continue doing that going forward also. That major coverage won't be regarding one topic. I will try to divide equally. Now I'll start our today's discussion by understanding Operation Sindoor. What was India's objective in this mission? How it destroyed several terrorist camps in different parts of Pakistan. This is relevant from GS Paper 3 perspective because it deals with India's security aspects. Then in the second option, we'll understand India's operations against Pakistan, specifically how these operations are named. Because you understand this time there has been a change in how India is naming its operation. Earlier, these operations were named based on Indian mythology, Indian religious figures, or even some names that showed India's resolve against the enemy. But this time, India has chosen to name its operation and dedicate it to the struggle and also the sacrifices that people of India has made, especially the married women in India. So that is why we'll understand many important operations that Indian Armed Forces has done against Pakistan. Now, a video I made it live yesterday at night at 9 p.m. It determined and it told you various important operations that India has conducted, not just against Pakistan but other enemies also. Our today's discussion adds into that particular video. I will repeat some of them, but most of the coverage that I will do in today's lecture would be new, right? So we'll understand how the military operations are named and what are the major military operations that India has conducted, particularly against Pakistan. In the third article, we'll understand what kind of new missiles and bombs have been used by Indian Armed Forces to strike those terror-related houses and the terror-related locations in the country of Pakistan. Now, if you look at the press conference that was made by Indian government, particularly the members of armed forces, they've said that they've used precision guided long range weapons. So what kind of precision long range guided weapons does India has in its own armory? We'll try to discuss it, particularly because these kind of questions can be asked in the exam. Those are very important. Right. So moving forward from Operation Sindoor, we'll also conduct and we'll also understand India's free trade agreement that it has signed with United Kingdom. Why was it important? What are the major features of this free trade agreement? We'll understand this in our today's discussion. Now, this article again is relevant from GS Paper 2 and GS Paper 3 both. GS Paper 2, why? Because if you look at the syllabus of GS Paper 2, it tells you important bilateral and multilateral agreements that affects India's interest. So this is a bilateral agreement that it has signed with United Kingdom. And GS Paper 3, why? Because it is a free trade agreement that automatically deals with our trade that happens between these two countries. So therefore, relevant paper is both IR and economy. In the fifth article, we'll understand that the government has announced a cashless treatment facility, particularly for victims who are victims of road accidents. Why such kind of a facility was needed? What are the benefits of this facility? All of this we'll cover in our today's discussion. And in the end, we'll top our today's discussion, or we'll conclude our today's discussion with Mission Sankalp. Mission Sankalp is a mission by India's Central Armed Police Forces, particularly against the menace of Naxalism in India, because government of India has said, or it has fixed a target that we will eliminate left-wing extremism, also known in India as Naxalism, from India's map by 2026. So what is government doing in this regard? We'll try to understand in our today's discussion. So these are the 6 articles that we are going to cover today. And it is also very essential, particularly from your guys' perspective, that you do not pay entire attention of your mind or your time, or you do not pay your entire attention to Operation Sindoor, because what is going on, it is the responsibility of armed forces. You are what? You're a student, you're an aspirant most probably, and you need to give exam, and exam covers not just defense related subject but also other subjects. So please try to minimize your distraction, try to pay more attention to other important subjects, and I know you can't completely ignore what is going around right now, but try to minimize the time that you give on these kind of developments. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Kamakshi, Geeta, Sarang, Baga, Tani, Priyalata, Reshma, Bhanu. Good evening, everyone. What about others? Sarang, Amar, are you there? Well, why did Turkey assist Pakistan when India already has supported it via Operation Those? Well, Turkey right now it projects itself as the most important power as far as the Islamic countries are concerned, which was earlier reserved for Saudi Arabia. But you understand what is happening with Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia has gained that kind of a maturity and consciousness that going forward it wants to be a very well developed economic country, right? An economic powerhouse. So it is trying to move away from supporting Islamic radicalism, Islamic extremism, and this space is void, that is perpetrating Islamic radicalism. Now Pakistan economically isn't in the place, so Turkey is trying to portray itself that it is the major supporter of Islamism in the world. That is why Turkey is assisting everyone who is attacking the other points. So it also went against Israel, now it is going against India. Right. Good evening, Yashi. Now moving back to our today's discussion, the notes for this session will be available on my channel ATS Live, so you can go subscribe to the channel and download the notes. I will make sure to make the available notes available immediately after the class ends. So we'll start our today's discussion with Operation Sindoor, which automatically appeared everywhere in the newspaper, but I've taken the screenshot of the article which appeared on the front page of the Indian Express. So what is Operation Sindoor? Operation Sindoor was actually the mission or an operation started by Indian Armed Forces to retaliate against Pakistan perpetrating the terror attacks in India, and it was the immediate response of Indian Armed Forces for Pahalgam terror attack. But if you look at the presentation that was given by the government has said that we are avenging not just Pahalgam terror attack but all the terror attacks that have happened in India since 2000. So in the presentation of the government, you will see instances of Parliament terror attack, bomb blasts happening in various important cities of India, 26/11, Uri attacks, Pulwama attacks, everything, right? So therefore, to counter these terrorists, the government has launched what is known as Operation Sindoor. But why was this operation named Sindoor? Sindoor, or vermilion in English, it is a mark of married Hindu women. So married Hindu women, they apply it on their forehead showing that they are married, and it has religious significance, particularly for Hindu married women. And this was in reference to Pahalgam April 22nd attack in Pahalgam massacre, in which men, most of them were married and some of them were newly married, like the deceased lieutenant of the Indian Navy. Now they were married just 7 days before the incident. So you understand the kind of impact that it had on the widow, and not just the widow but the entire family of the Lieutenant Narwal, right? And they were killed on the basis of their religion by the terrorists. So this highlights the terrorists, they had nefarious activities not just to kill people in India but also to perpetrate communal disharmony in India by saying that, see, we attacked Hindus, so automatically the Indian citizens who are Muslim, they thought that they will be under the pressure in Indian society, but which did not happen because India is a mature democracy. We understand people living in India, irrespective of the religion, they have their allegiance with the nation that is India. Okay. Now what you need to understand about Operation Sindoor, that this was actually targeting the terrorist infrastructure in the regions of Pakistan, particularly the Punjab province, and also in the illegally occupied territory by Pakistan known as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now this operation was conducted jointly by Army, Navy and the Air Force, and the targets of this mission was terrorist camp belonging to Jaish-e-Mohammed, terrorist camp belonging to Lashkar-e-Toiba, and terrorist camp belonging to Hizbul Mujahideen. Now these were hit based on the intelligence based inputs, and automatically the Air Force took these kind of terrorist activities. Now Jaish-e-Mohammed, its headquarters in Bawahalpur were targeted. Similarly, Lashkar-e-Toiba's headquarters in Muridke was highlighted, and similarly other terrorist camps in Sialkot, also in POK, was highlighted. So the targets in Pakistan included Bawahalpur, which is in the southern part of its Punjab province, in Muridke, which is very near to LOC, and also in Sialkot in POK, right? So these were the targets set by the... Sir, can we learn vocab here? Well, how to give this answer, I don't know. Now let us understand what will be the impact of this Operation Sindoor. Now first, the government of India has shown that it is very assertive when it comes to dealing and countering the terrorist related activities. Now it has reinforced India's commitment to retaliate decisively against cross-border terrorism. India earlier in the terms of UPA government, it majorly used to follow diplomatic measures. It used to approach multilateral bodies like UN, highlighting that, see, Pakistan is involved in supporting of such terror activities, and invariably the brunt of these terror activities has to be faced by India. But now India has changed its stance. India is continuing with its diplomatic efforts, but in addition to that, it also is showing that we have such a huge army, such a huge air force and navy, and we will use all the assets at our disposal to counter these terrorism. And it also shows the credibility of how the forces of Indian government, that is navy, army and air force, they are operating in unison, because you understand our enemy is the same. We can't operate in silo, that army can't conduct its operation individually or without any coordination from other bodies. So therefore coordination with these three agencies is important nowadays, because you can get intelligence from one agency, you can use assets and manpower of other agencies, and our ultimate goal is what? Our ultimate goal is to eradicate and eliminate the terrorism that is going on in India. Similarly, it shows strategic signaling to Pakistan, that India said our first measure of response in Operation Sindoor was not to attack civilians of Pakistan, it was not to attack military personnel of Pakistan. Rather, the intention of the government in its first phase of Sindoor mission was to eliminate only the terrorist and its terrorist infrastructure in the country. So it said our operation is very calibrated, it is proportionate. We understand that terrorists attacked in our country, so we are responding against them. And it also warned Pakistan in its joint statement that, see, our first response is against the terrorists, but if you conduct any attacks on our civilian and military infrastructure, we will respond back in kind, which it is doing right now as we speak. Similarly, India is also very importantly focusing on global perception management. So if you see the press conference, here the military officers that were representing Indian Air Force and Indian Army, the Indian Army colonel, she was belonging to Muslim religion. So they are saying that, see, we are united in our stand. Your terrorism is affecting Indian citizen irrespective of their religion. So people belonging to different religion, they are serving in the Indian Armed Forces and they are acting in unison against your nefarious activities. So this targeted not only terror camps, but it also projected India as a responsible actor upholding the proportionality. So there is a doctrine that is used to teach in military schools known as doctrine of proportionality, and this doctrine of proportionality means that if they kill one of your persons, so you can only kill one of their persons. And why this is taught in military schools? Because any responsible military needs to be very proportionate and calibrated in its response. So suppose if they kill one of your persons and you go and kill 5 of them, naturally they will come and kill 10 of your person, and this will lead to escalation of war, which can be quite detrimental, especially when both of the players in this region is nuclearly armed, right? So this shows that you are a very professional military and you are actually wanting to eliminate the problem. Understood? Any doubt? Is it asymmetric, conventional or hybrid warfare? Well, this is hybrid. Actually, Pakistan is using asymmetric elements like non-state actors, terrorism, to counter India's threat, okay? But India, on the other hand, is following very conventional form of, so any attack that is done on Pakistan is done by Indian Armed Forces. Understand? So this is asymmetric from Pakistan side, but it is very conventional from our side. Now moving to the next article, you see this article appeared on page 9 and it says, from Cactus Lily to Operation Bandar, India's operations against Pakistan. Now yesterday in the video that I made live on 9 PM, it showed many important missions that have been done by Indian Armed Forces, but that focused not just on Pakistan but other perpetrators also, including operations that were held in India. For example, Operation Black Tornado, that was the response of NSG against 2611 terrorist attacks. Similarly, we also understood Operation Blue Star, which was the army's response to counter Khalistani threat when they attacked the Golden Temple. But you understand, these kind of missions sometimes can also negatively impact the army's image, as we saw with the case of Operation Blue Star. But now this article's focus is solely on India's armed forces and its response against Pakistan. So we'll understand that in detail, and we'll also understand how the naming of the operation have changed in recent times. Now you understand, conventionally India has had many operations against Pakistan, and when you understand the naming of those operations, you'll see the naming of those operations are very different as compared to the naming of operations done right now. We'll try to look into it, how the namings of the operation has evolved. Now, recently what I'm trying to borrow this article from is, if you know, the latest operation going on is called as Operation Sindoor, and I told you the significance of the name Sindoor and why was it chosen. So let us understand the context of our today's discussion. So by naming the operation to hit terrorist infrastructure at 9 different sites in both Pakistan and Pakistani occupied Kashmir, which was called as Operation Sindoor, the Indian defense establishment and the Indian government has made a very important shift. And what is this important shift? That earlier you were using your military power and projecting your military power in naming the operations very differently. Now by naming the operation differently, you are trying to pay tribute to the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack, because victims of the Pahalgam terror attack most were the women who had lost their husbands and their loved ones in the terror attack. And therefore Prime Minister Modi chose to name and give this name particularly so as to actually recognize the sacrifices Indian married women has made, and therefore Sindoor was made the symbol of this sacrifice. Now this killed 25 tourists and 1 local, and 25 of these tourists belong to just one religion, and that is why we are discussing this article. Now almost all past military operations that were done by India, particularly against Pakistan, they were largely having conventional military names. Now what are the conventional military naming of many operations? These kind of names, they are used to inspire confidence internally among the members of the armed forces, among soldiers, among commanders, and sometimes they are also done in order to send a message of strength externally. For example, let us consider what was the naming done by United States in its different operations. So suppose at the time it invaded Iraq twice, the operation was named as Operation Desert Storm, right? And I need not make you understand the significance of this name. What is Operation Desert Storm? So anytime any country attacks a country which is predominantly located in the desert region, automatically it will create a storm. So this was how US operation in Iraq was named. Similarly, when it comes to US operation in Afghanistan, you know what it was named? Operation Enduring Freedom. Why was it named Operation Enduring Freedom? Because what is US highlighting? The most important aspect of US is promoting democracy, and at that time Afghanistan was ruled by a despotic form of government by a radical Islamic organization known as Taliban. So it was trying to free Afghanistan from the clutches of Taliban and promote democracy in Afghanistan. That is why it was promoting, or the name of this mission had a very symbolic importance, particularly from American point of view, that it was called as Operation Enduring Freedom. Now you understand, Israel also has many times faced the brunt of terrorism, and the most important and probably the most drastic impact of terrorism that Israel had when it in 1972 Munich Olympics, where Israeli athletes were killed by Palestinian terrorists. So Israeli government came up with a response, and you know what was the name of this mission that was conducted by Israel against Palestinian terrorists? It was known as Operation Wrath of God. So this highlighted the religious aspect of Israel, that when people belonging to Jewish religion were killed by people belonging to Islamic religion, therefore the Israel was saying that we will conduct an operation named Wrath of God. So this highlights how brutal the response would have been by the Israeli government. So this is the conventional way of naming any military operation. Similarly, if you see the discussion that I will do today, how has India named its mission, like Operation Vijay in Kargil, which says we will be victorious, and rightly they were. And similarly in 2001, when Indian Army achieved mobilization of its forces, it was called as Operation Parakram. Parakram in Hindi means attack. So this is how the conventional military naming have been done in India. Sometimes the name were chosen to maintain the secrecy of the operation. Sometimes name were even drawn from Indian mythology, as you will see today, Operation Meghdoot, which was done in the Siachen in 1986 or 84. So this is how the conventional naming of the military operations has been done. But as we see, this time the naming has been different because it highlights the sacrifices particularly the married women has made in India, right? So in this regard, let us try to quickly understand important missions and operations that has been done by Indian Armed Forces, particularly against China. So if you see, we'll start with 1965 Indo-Pak War, and the first mission there was known as Operation Ablaze. Now it was in context automatically relating to 1965 War of China, War of India with Pakistan. Right. Now, this Operation Ablaze was launched as a defensive strategy on the Western Front. You can understand in that time, Pakistan was not a divided country. It had West Pakistan and it had East Pakistan. So, this actually was implemented on the Western Front, that is border alongside Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir. Now, at that time, India actually preempted the mobilization plan. So, it had planned that it will mobilize the army so as to counter any threat that might appear from Pakistani side, particularly Western Pakistan. And it was following the rising tension and skirmishes that were already happening alongside the western borders. Now, particularly this mobilization was done in Gujarat, specifically in the Run of Kutch desert region of Gujarat. And although it did not immediately result into a direct combat, that is, we are talking about Operation Ablaze, but this large scale mobilization, it demonstrated that India was ready to counter any threat by Pakistan. And at this stage, it also heightened India's military preparedness before the full-fledged war appeared or happened in August 1965. Now you understand, conventional or hybrid. Well, hybrid from Pakistan, they are following both conventional and non-conventional method. We are following only the conventional method. Now understand the difference. Conventional is when armies of two countries and armed forces of these two countries fight. But unconventional or hybrid or asymmetric is when a non-state actor like a terrorist organization is fighting with a armed force of a particular country. So in this regard, only the side which is fighting from India is Indian armed forces, right? But from Pakistan, Pakistani army is fighting. Similarly, other terrorist organizations, LET, HEM, JEM, they are also fighting us, right? Now, this Operation Ablaze, it heightened the India's military preparedness. So, you understand, whenever a country is preparing for war, it can't just start a war next day. It has to, first of all, fill its entire depot, fill its all ammunition, it has to get its weapon system ready, it has to mobilize the army from its peacetime mobilization to forward areas like border regions. So this is why this Operation Ablaze set the stage for India to actually counter the war when it started in August 1965. So this Operation Ablaze was before August 1965. Now when the war broke out, Indian Army started Operation Riddle. So this is India's military response to the offense that was launched by Pakistan under the code name Operation Gibraltar and Grand Slam. So you understand how Pakistan named its mission Operation Gibraltar. Gibraltar is nowhere near the South Asian continent. Similarly, it said Operation Grand Slam. So as to counter these operations, India started Operation Riddle, which was the response of Indian military to the aggression launched by Pakistan. Now, as Pakistan violated the line of control and entered Jammu and Kashmir, India tried to negate this advantage that the Pakistan gained by entering India in trying to encircle and target its bigger cities of Lahore and Kasur in September 1965. Now, this counter effort or counter mission done by the Indian Armed Forces, it crippled the Pakistani military. So you'll understand that whenever you are capturing the major cities and major territories of another country, it pays rich dividends when you are going to negotiate the end of the war. And this two operation effectively pushed Pakistan, and Pakistan actually requested India to stop the war and give its territories back, and this agreement was signed in Tashkent Agreement, which was brokered by Soviet Union. So this is how Operation Ablaze and Operation Riddle actually forced Pakistan to end the war and negotiate the settlement of the captured territories. Okay, now let us come back to 1971 war. 1971 war, the first operation that comes to my mind is Operation Cactus Lily. Now the major part of operations in 1971 war, it happened on the eastern front, that is in the Bangladeshi region currently. Although war happened in the western front also, like the one you saw, the Battle of Longewala, which was shown in the movie Border. This happened in the state of Rajasthan. Similarly, aggression also happened in the region of Punjab, Gujarat as well as Jammu and Kashmir. Now we are talking about Cactus Lily, which happened in current Bangladesh region. Now this was also known as alternatively as Meghna Heli Bridge or the crossing of Meghna, and this was an air assault operation which was conducted jointly by the military as well as the Air Force, and this was during the Bangladesh Liberation War. Now it was conducted by Army and the Air Force to cross the Meghna River. Now when we were actually advancing in now Bangladesh, it was very essential for us to cross Meghna River, and Pakistan, knowing the significance of Meghna River, it had made significant reinforcements in this area. So we needed to break this reinforcement and we needed to encircle the Pakistani army who was located in the then capital city of East Pakistan in Dhaka. So when we were able to reach Dhaka and encircle them, this allowed us to force Pakistanis to end the war, right? Now, very important in the 1971 war is also Operation Trident and Python, and these was the mission conducted by Indian Navy. Now, these both were an offensive operation launched by Indian Navy in the Arabian Sea region, particularly to target the port city of Pakistan on the western region of Pakistan in Karachi during the Indo-Pak War in 1971. Now, Operation Trident is very important because it was the first use when anti-ship missile was used in combat in this particular region, and this operation was conducted on the 9th of December 4th and December 5th in 1971, and this mission inflicted heavy damage on Pakistani vessels and facilities located in Karachi port. And why is this very significant? Because December the 4th is also commemorated as the Navy Day of Indian Navy, and because of these two missions, Operation Trident in Pakistan in western region of Pakistan and Operation Cactus Lily in the eastern region of Pakistan, Pakistan eventually lost and the new country in eastern Pakistan was created known as Bangladesh. And you must be aware of this image, which is a very famous image of Lieutenant General who was responsible for Pakistani forces in the East Pakistan, Lieutenant General Niazi, signing a surrender agreement with General Arora, who was responsible for the armies located in eastern Pakistan. And this is the photo of when the Pakistani soldiers, they are actually surrendering their weapons. So this is actually an image that Pakistan should remember, that in case they achieve any kind of mischievous activities in India, this will be the end result of them. Understood? Now, difference between LOC and LAC. Now, I've uploaded a separate video what LAC means, right? In this very channel, I'll show you where the video is, okay? Now go to YouTube, Now once you go to video, sorry, not my videos. Well, subscriptions, click on subscriptions. You must be following our channel, right? So go manage, click on StudyIQ IS English. Go to videos, and one of the videos going downwards, you will see what line of control means, right? So if you want to understand the difference between LOC and LAC, this is the video that you need to watch, okay? This was uploaded 2 days ago. Okay, Kamakshi, understood this? Now coming back to our discussion, we were discussing important Indian Armed Forces missions against Pakistan. Now comes in 1984 Operation Meghdoot, which was in Siachen Glacier. Now, in 1984, Pakistan actually started what was known as cartographic aggression. You know what is cartographic aggression? So, when a country knowingly does not follow the maps that you have delineated and tries to capture any other territory which might belong to you, this is called as cartographic aggression. And you know Pakistan, how it initiated this cartographic aggression? It actually allowed foreign mountaineering expedition in the Siachen Glacier, which officially, legally and formally is under India control, and therefore India became very concerned because of this movement. And not just that, Indian intelligence agencies, they also got an input that Pakistani armed forces, they have placed a huge order for winter clothing and gear for a UK based company. And when Pakistan did not had at that time deployed its military in such high altitude regions, automatically the intention was clear that Pakistan is going to capture Siachen with its army. So receiving this intelligence input actually helped India, and impending Pakistani military action, India decided to thwart this Pakistani efforts to legitimize its claim in Siachen. So what India did in this mission? It launched Operation Meghdoot, and the intention of this Operation Meghdoot was to secure strategic heights located in Siachen Glacier with deployment of troops. Now, Indian Air Force, it transported stores, ammunition and troops, and airdropped supplies to high altitudes airfield using its helicopters, Mi-8, Mi-17, Chetak and Cheetah helicopters, which ferried men and material into the dizzying heights of the glacier. And therefore, with this mission, India was able to capture the Siachen Glacier and put it under its control by deploying about 300 troops who were positioned on strategically important peaks and passes of the glacier. Now, by the time Pakistani army could have reacted to it, India was already deployed on Siachen Glacier, and therefore India has gained a tactical an advantage in this region. So you'll understand the significance of Siachen Glacier from this image. You understand Siachen Glacier is on this part, right? So this is Siachen Glacier and it overlooks the Gilgit-Baltistan region, which is illegally under the control of Pakistan. And with Siachen Glacier, we can also keep a close eye on Chinese deployment in this region. So therefore, it is very strategically important for us, irrespective of what many Indians feel. Although it is quite difficult for us to maintain that kind of operational readiness, but it is very important for India's security concerns in order to hold the strategic and dominance over the region of Siachen. Now let us move to another operation. This is known as Operation Vijay, or Vijay in Hindi means victory, right? And this was the name given to the operations of Indian Army in order to counter the deployment of Pakistan, who illegally had captured many peaks in the Kargil region. Now this was to reclaim the areas that were occupied by Pakistani forces. You know what Pakistan did? It sent its soldiers across the border, dressed them as normal mujahideen and terrorists. And even at the time war was going on, Pakistan actually was in denial, that saying that they are terrorists, they are not officers of the Pakistani army. But when they were killed and Indian army searched their pockets, they found out their ID cards that were official Pakistani army ID cards. Now this operation is successfully posed Pakistani troops to withdraw and recapture, and allowed India to recapture critical positions leading to India's victory. So for example, Tiger Hill Peak 5 to 17, these kind of peaks, they were captured by India, and these are very important if India wants to get hold of Kargil region. Now to aid and support the army's Operation Vijay, Indian Air Force started Operation Safed Sagar. Safed Sagar in Hindi means White Ocean. Similarly, Operation Talwar was started by Indian Navy to increase its deployment of ships in the Arabian Sea. So Talwar means sword. So these are the kind of names that army used to give to its mission, conventional names like victory, like White Sea, like sword, which are examples of how aggression should be like. And the outcome of this mission, that India was successfully regained all strategic heights in Kargil. Now there was this important political decision that was made during the Kargil conflict, that the government ordered the Indian Armed Forces that they couldn't cross LOC in any form, that the armies couldn't cross LOC, even the Air Force fighter jets, they can't cross LOC, and it made the achieving of targets somewhat difficult, but it was important from India's side because both countries at that time were newly nuclear armed. So Indian government, it feared that in cases of such misadventure, Pakistan might fire a nuclear weapon at us, which we have understood has actually negated since the Balakot air incidents, I'll tell you, right? So this is Operation Vijay. Now another important operation which happened in 2016, although this surgical strike was not given an official name, but it was conducted by Indian Special Forces in response to the Uri attack which happened on a base of Indian Army. Now the force which was responsible for this operation was Para Special Forces, particularly 4 and 5 Para Special Forces. Now this was not given any specific name, and popularly it is more known as surgical strike. Now it was a very targeted attack on terrorist launch pads located in Pakistan occupied Kashmir in the city of Muzaffarabad, Chakoti, etc. And the most important outcome of this mission, that it marked a shift towards proactive counter-terrorism operation. Earlier at the time, in the decades of 2010s, when we saw attacks like Mumbai happening, even then India did not attack Pakistan or any terrorist operation or facility located in Pakistan, and this put India at a very negative light, that it saw despite having its major military expenditure and power, India was not able to counter such threats. But in the decades of 2010s, we saw this change drastically as India decided to respond in kind by attacking the terrorist launch pads in Pakistan. So this was the first instance. And this was closely followed in 2019 when terrorists attacked the CRPF convoy, which was traveling in the region of Jammu and Kashmir, and this attack in Pulwama, it killed as many as 40 soldiers belonging to CRPF, and this attack was conducted by a terrorist organization known as Jaish-e-Mohammed. So this Operation Bandar was indeed the official name given to the Balakot airstrikes, which was done by Indian Armed Forces. It carried out strikes on Jaish-e-Mohammed training camp located in Balakot. This particular was located in Jabba Top, sorry, not Jaffa Top. Let me change the spelling. Now in this mission, Mirage 2000s, they dropped Spice 2000 bomb, which are Israeli made bombs, on the training camp located in Balakot, which killed several terrorists. And why was this operation very significant because this was the first airstrike which happened across the LOC, first time since 1971, and it sparked brief aerial skirmishes between the two countries where Indian MiG-21 it actually downed a F-16 aircraft of Pakistan, but the result of which was that the pilot of that MiG-21, Captain Wing Commander Abhinandan, he was captured by Pakistan. But after India threatened Pakistan with several consequences, Pakistan had no other option but to return our soldier back to us, right? So this was very significant because it was the first time India conducted a cross-border operation where the Indian Armed Force and Air Force jets, they flew across the border, not in POK. This was in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region of Pakistan. So this showed Pakistan that we are not afraid to cross LOC. And what was Pakistan threatening us with? They was threatening us with nuclear weapons and conducting a nuclear attack on India. Did this happen in 2019? It did not happen. So we actually called their bluff. So that is why this was significant. Yes. Now let's see whether you are able to solve this question. What you need to do? You need to arrange the following operations in a chronological order. So you must remember the mean. आप chronology समझिए. You have to explain us the chronology here. Well, Operation Ablaze was a part of 1965 war, Cactus Lily 1971 war, Meghdoot was part of Siachen in 1984 and Operation Bandar was in 2019. That was the bombing in Balakot. So you can understand 1, 2, 3, 4 is the right answer. So option C is correct. Yes, all of you have gotten this right. Now let's move to the next article of the day. This article appeared in page 18 of the Indian Express newspaper and it talks about precision guided long range weapons in the arsenal of Indian military. And why are we discussing it? Although Indian government officially has not revealed what kind of weapons it used under the Operation Sindoor attacks which happened in Pakistan and POK on the morning of May 7th, but the official statement highlighted that Indian Air Force carried out precision strikes, hitting terrorist infrastructure deep inside POK and Pakistan. Now, during the Wednesday's official briefing, the Wind Commander Vyomika Singh, who is actually a helicopter pilot with the IAF, she said that IAF used niche weapon technology weapons, which were carefully selected warheads to avoid collateral damage. So, what weapons may have Indian Air Force used? Let us try to understand these weapons. Now, over the past years, especially after the Balakot incident, the Indian Army has built up a formidable arsenal of new age weapons that includes some precision guided long range weapons and in some cases it also includes drone, most importantly loitering munitions. So what are loitering munitions? What are different kind of precision guided long range weapons we have? Let us try to understand this. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is hammer. Hammer is actually an abbreviation of highly agile and maneuverable munition extended range. It is an air to ground precision guided weapon system particularly made for the Rafale fighter aircraft and it has a range of up to 70 kilometers. But what you need to know, it can also be fitted to bombs and various other guided systems also. Now, this is built by a French aerospace defense and security corporation who makes majorly the aircraft engine, but this company called as Safran has also made this hammer weapon system. Now, it is very versatile weapon system and can be used for precision strike against a range of targets in medium range tactical operations, right? Now, this system is autonomous. What is autonomous means that you need not control the system after you launch the system, and it is also not sensitive to jamming. Therefore, even the jamming efforts or electronic jamming efforts by the enemies won't work on this missile system, and it can be launched from a very low altitude region or over a tough terrain. Now, launching any payload from a low altitude region would mean that you would try to evade the radar system. So that is why this hammer system is very important. So what you need to remember, this is an air to ground precision guided system, range is 70 kilometers, manufactured by Safran, and this were primarily made for Rafale but can also be fitted to other worms and guided system, right? Okay. Now, let's move to another weapon system known as Scalp EG. Now, Scalp is a abbreviation of a French term. I'm having a very difficult time to pronounce this. You need not remember this. Alternatively, it is also known as Shadow Storm in Britain. It is an air-launched cruise missile which has some kind of a stealth feature. Now, it is designed for long-range deep strike, right? And it can be operated at night and also in all-weather systems. Now, this was manufactured by an European multinational company known as MBDA, and it has a range of how much? 450 kilometers. Further, as it has some stealth features, therefore making it very difficult to detect due to its low flying capabilities when fired from an aircraft. Now it is advanced and highly accurate navigational system by using inertial navigation system, GPS and terrain referencing. It can penetrate bunkers and ammunition stores effectively, and when it is such a high range missile that you can send this missile as much as 450 kilometers away, therefore it will make your aircraft from which you have launched safe, right? So therefore this is very important. Now coming to another one, that is meteor missiles. Meteor missiles are the missiles that are there on Rafale systems, and these are beyond visual range air-to-air missiles, and these are new generation BVR systems, and these are effective in dense electronic warfare environments. Now the manufacturer of this missile is also MBDBA, and the missile has a solid fuel ramjet engine which provides it thrust all the way to the target intercept, and thus it makes the largest no escape zone, right, for any air to air missile system. Now what is beyond visual range missile system? So suppose even if the radar is not seeing the enemy aircraft, now technically you can launch these missiles very far away, as far as 180 kilometers away, right? So therefore this weapon system on an aircraft gives you a significant advantage that you won't be coming in the radar of enemy aircraft. You can fire the missile and get away from the region, right? So this is very important, particularly in air-to-air combat. Okay. Now another missile which is probably the most important of these lot is BrahMos missile. Now this is a supersonic cruise missile. Supersonic means it travels more than with the speed of sound, right? Now which has been operationalized in all three defense forces, that is Army, Navy and Air Force. All of these three forces have BrahMos with them, and it was manufactured by a company known as BrahMos Aerospace, which is a joint venture between DRDO and Russia's this company, right? Now BrahMos missile operates very close to Mach 3 speed. Mach 1 speed is actually the speed of sound. So this travels 3 times the speed of sound. That is why it is a supersonic missile. Had it been traveling less than the speed of sound, then it would have been called a subsonic missile. But it is a supersonic missile, traveling much faster than the speed of sound. Now when it has such a high speed, it ensures reduced flight time. So it can reach its target at much quicker time as compared to subsonic missiles. Therefore, low dispersion of targets and quicker engagement time and non-interception are the other benefits, because this missile is traveling so fast. Right. Now what you need to understand, that this missile also operates on the principle of fire and forget, that unlike other missile, you need not guide this missile, because you feed the target in the GPS system and this will automatically take the missile to the target. Now the cruising altitude of this missile can be as high as 15 kilometers, and the terminal altitude, that is the last stage of missile, it can travel as low as 10 meters above the sea level. Right now this missile carries conventional warhead weighing about 200 to 300 kilograms. Now earlier the range of BrahMos missile, they were restricted to 290 kilometers. And why was this done? Because India was not a signatory to a multilateral organization known as MTCR. What is MTCR? We will cover it later on, right? Now India was not a signatory to MTCR, and it prohibited the non-members to develop any missile over and above 300 kilometers range. But after India acceded to this agreement, India has increased the range of BrahMos missile. Now it has nearly doubled in recent years, specifically the BrahMos missile that are launched from land and ships, right? So the range of BrahMos missile now is much more than earlier, that was 290 kilometers. Okay. Now last is the loitering munition. Now you know drones are effectively very important when it comes to surveillance and identification of targets. But what if you make that drone and allow it to have a capability of missile also, right? So what if you fit destructive materials in the drone? So these are called as loitering munition, that these have the ability to loiter over the target, that it will be acting as a drone when it will be surveilling and identifying the targets, and if it identifies the target positively, it can also carry out precision strikes autonomously or otherwise. So these drones are basically both having the capabilities of drones as well as missile, because it is also carrying an explosive payloads above it. Now Indian Armed Forces in the last few years have been procuring a range of these drones, particularly the Israeli owned Heron drones, which have the capability of being destructive also, right? So this is why these kind of weapon systems are important. Now let's see if you are able to solve these particular questions. Do we have to remember all these operations? Not necessary, just remember the important ones, the names. It won't be very difficult. I hope so. because it was not very difficult for me to prepare. Now, especially the ones who are preparing for SSB and FSB, now you will expect these kind of questions to come. And also, UPSC might also ask the question. Now, hammer weapon system is designed for air-to-air combat and relies on jamming-based navigation. Air-to-air is incorrect because this is a surface-to-air, right? Air-to-surface, sorry. Scalp missile is capable of deep strike missions with stealth features and can penetrate fortified underground bunkers, correct? The BrahMos missile are supersonic, following a fire-to-forget trajectory and is seen increase in their ranges recently. This is also correct. So, first is incorrect, second and third is right. So, option B is the right answer. All of you have gotten it. Yeah. Now, all of these developments relating to the defense sector, we teach that in the security lectures which are undertaken in the foundation batches, also known as P2I batches. To take admission to these batches, the May evening batch, what you need to do is go to our website. By going to our website, what you need to do is click on this. First of all, you'll be needing to create an account. Once you create an account, click on Explore Courses. So, when you click on Explore Courses, and suppose if you are not comfortable in Hindi, understand that. So, what you need to do, click on UPSC IS English. Here, the courses are specifically for the one where you will be getting the admissions in the English only batches, right? Now, currently, we are undertaking admissions for the May evening batch, and the admissions for this batch will close on May the 15th. Now, this is already started from 7th. So, please take the admission as quickly as possible so as to not miss out on live classes. To take admissions to these batch, click on the tile and you can see the course fees right now for the diamond batch is 40,999. What you need to do to take admission in it, click on this. But I'll tell you a way to get even more discounts as compared to this amount. Click on this add promo code and here write ATS live. It is the same code which is flashing on the bottom half of your screen and click on apply. As soon as you click on apply, see the discount of 7,000 is applicable and the diamond course fees is 33,999. Similarly, platinum is at 29,999 and gold, which is the best value course, is available at 19,999. But my recommendation to you is if you can spend some money, obviously go for diamond course because it is a best value course and it gets you all the benefits that are available on the StudyIQ website. And do not forget to add the code ATS Live because you are getting 7,000 rupees discount, which is very important, trust me. So, what are the benefits available in diamond batches? This is the slide what you need to watch. I will upload the notes and these will be there, okay? So, let us quickly move to another article. This says details about India-UK Free Trade Agreement, right? So, what is India-UK Free Trade Agreement? Let us understand this. Now, India is in negotiation with many countries to sign a free trade agreement and India and UK have successfully concluded that they will sign the free trade agreement, which also includes a double contribution convention. What is this? I'll tell you. Now, other major countries with which India has FTA existingly, these are called Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, Japan. And the more recent ones are the Australia, UAE, Mauritius, which was the first African country with which India signed FTA, and also important multilateral organizations like ASEAN and EFTA, right? So, in this regard, let us understand first very quickly what is an FTA agreement. It is a pact which may include two countries or more than that, and the intention of this pact is to lower or even remove the import tariffs on most traded goods between the respective countries. So, it not just reduces tariff, but it also reduces non-tariff barriers, sometimes may promote trade in other aspects like trade in services, and may also boost mutual investments between the companies of two countries. So, FTA majorly relates to tariff, but not is just limited to tariff. It also includes non-tariff measures, investment and services, right? Now, about the UK-India FTA agreement. First, India has reduced tariff on almost 90% of the British goods which are imported into India. It includes significant cuts on the tariffs imposed on whiskies because European whiskies are very popular like Scotch whiskies, etc. So, Europe and UK, they were demanding that we need to reduce the tariffs which we imposed on whiskey, and from that tariff has reduced from 140 to 40%, and this will be reduced subsequently over a period of 10 years, right? Now also automobiles, the tariffs will be reduced from over 100% to 10%, and the most major beneficiary of this will be JLR, that is Jaguar Land Rover, which is owned another by Indian company known as Tata Motors, right? Now other British goods which will face lower tariffs now include cosmetics, medical devices, fishes like salmon, even electrical machineries. Companies like Rolls-Royce, they export large quantities of electrical machineries into India, soft drinks, chocolates and biscuits, right? So these are the items on which India has reduced tariffs, and these are British items. Now let us consider, in return of these reduction in UK based goods, what benefits have India gotten it? Now India will witness 99% of its exports to UK, like textiles, like food, like jewelry, they will become duty free, and this will provide a substantial boost to India's export sectors. Also, Indian workers, they will see getting increased quotas when it comes to issuing of visas whenever they go for certain work in UK, and this will automatically benefits the employees of Indian companies going for banking related work, for IT related work, which is in high demand obviously in UK markets. Now it also includes a double contribution convention. What is this double contribution? Baga wants faculties to speak in American accent. Bishwabrata, what do you mean by terminal and cruising altitude? Well, you know how an aircraft travels, right? Aircraft takes off from an airport, travels at a certain altitude, and eventually it lands, right? So before landing, it reduces its altitude drastically, right? It happens over a period of time. So when it is traveling, it is called as a cruising altitude, but when it is landing, that is called as the last phase of the travel, known as terminal. Similarly, missiles, particularly cruise missiles, also travel like how aircrafts do, okay? So this is called as terminal landing. Okay, now we were talking about double contribution, right? Double contribution convention. Now this double contribution convention, when signed between India and UK, this will exempt Indian workers who are temporarily working in UK for some purpose from paying into national insurance contribution. Now whenever an Indian employee, they are working in India, so they have to pay some amount of money as their EPF contribution, right? Similar kind of contributions are also applicable for people who are working in other countries, that they have to give certain kind of money in their respective EPF related scheme, okay? So any Indian who will be posted temporarily in UK, they need not pay for social security schemes in UK, rather they can continue paying for their contribution in the EPFO, right? And this will be available for people who are working in UK temporarily up to 3 years, and vice versa also. So if a UK citizen is working in India, they need not pay for EPFO, they need to pay for their UK's own social security scheme. Now this is not the first kind of a deal that it has happened with another country. In case of India, it has similar pacts with countries like Germany, France, Belgium, South Korea, Netherlands. Now people working in UK will also get the same benefit. So you need not pay your social security contributions in UK, rather you can keep paying in India, that is in form of EPA. Okay. Now let us understand what will be the benefit or impact of this agreement. First, automatically is the economic agreement or economic benefit. Now FTA, it will increase the bilateral trade between two countries by almost $34 billion annually by 2040. And the sectors which will get benefit, that India will get enhanced access for its products in textiles, apparels, marine products, leathers, auto parts, right? Similarly, for UK, it will get improved market entry for its whiskies like Scotch, automobiles like Jaguar Land Rover cars, like medical devices, like aerospace components, right? So these were the benefits will be provided for both these countries, okay? Now, not just economic, but it will also impact geopolitically. First of all, it will strengthen the strategic partnership between these two countries, enhancing their contribution not just in trade but also in investment and mobility. Mobility somewhat more important for India, because many Indian skilled workers, they go to UK and work in their companies. Now, for any country to have a better relation, the first and the most important requirement is they have a good trade and economic relation, because this money is the factor which can make sure or make undo everything, right? And this is why India was focusing on it. Similarly, it provides Britain with a post-Brexit strategy. Now, British product majorly was available at a lower tariff rate in European Union markets when Britain was a part of EU. But since it has exited EU, it can't sell those products at a cheaper tariff rates in EU because EU will now impose higher tariffs on British products. So, in that regard, UK was searching for another markets, and India is one of the bigger markets in the region, second only to China, right? So in this deal represents the most significant trade agreement since Brexit, aiming to diversify British trade and relations even beyond European Union, and further it positions India into a global trade because India's position itself is a key global trade partner, and it will leverage such agreements and expand its economic influence to more important Western countries. That is why you'll see India signed an FTA with Australia. It is negotiating an FTA with US. Now it has completed this FTA with UK. So this is how India is trying to approach more developed and Western countries. Now let us move to another article. This is 458. So let us try to conclude our today's discussion here. There are two articles left out. It will take approximately 12-13 minutes for me to cover it. I will cover tomorrow. Need not to worry. Okay. So let's end our today's session here. You can download the notes on my Telegram channel. This is called as ATS Live. If you haven't subscribed it to it yet, please make sure to subscribe it. I will upload the notes and we'll cover the rest of articles tomorrow. Okay. So please be safe. Have a very good evening and good night. We'll see each other again tomorrow at 4.